Hi, my name is Alex and I love movies. In the month of March, I ended up seeing 14 new releases, and today being April 1st, I thought no better time than now to rank them from worst to best. And I used to have a channel here on YouTube called Alex Talking, and I've recently been kicking around the idea of bringing it back or retooling it in some sort of way alongside the movie reviews I'll be writing for my website at Penn State, amongst other things. Just, you know, trying new things. So this is going to be a very bare bones video. I hope to edit them more with, clips from the movies, stuff like that in the future. But today I'll just be talking right at you. And if you care enough to listen, I appreciate it. So, that being said, let's get into it. And I would love to hear your ranking in the comments as well. If you saw any movies in March, what you liked, what you didn't. Good bit of both for me. It wasn't necessarily a great month, but there were some good ones, but certainly not going to start with them because we're starting at number 14 with The Electric State. In March, I live in Savannah, Georgia. In March, we celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and I got to have 3 of my closest friends come down and stay for a few days, and just, we went on a bar crawl. We went to the movie theater and saw 3 movies, and we watched this piece of garbage at home. This is like a punching bag because of how much it cost. I think it cost like $320 million. It's not bad because of how much it cost. It's bad because it's terrible in every way that you just don't want a movie to be, or at least I don't want a movie to be. It's not funny. It's aggressively unfunny. It's just the worst world building, wasting actors. It is a movie I did not like. Now, there's not much to articulate on this movie. Like, whenever I don't like a movie, I don't want to just say I don't like it. There's plenty to articulate about a movie, but a movie like this is almost like, no, actually, Brian Cox voicing Mr. Met wasn't for me because I didn't like that he was acting opposite blonde wig Guns N' Roses Chris Pratt and Millie Bobby Brown, who I wonder if she does these movies because probably out of obligation to Netflix. In a certain way, you could view her as like a Netflix movie star, if that makes sense, because she's famous for Stranger Things, and all of her projects mostly are Netflix originals. So that's just something to think about. I just literally am pondering that, sitting here about, outside of the Godzilla movies, what have you seen her in a movie theater? The concept of a Netflix movie star is interesting because usually you just think of like The Rock or Ryan Reynolds because they love doing movies for them, but they still have stuff that go to theaters. I think Millie Bobby Brown is talented, is why I say this, and stuff like this and Damsel are not doing her any good. The Russos, I don't know at this point. Marvel movies have been terrible, and their movies have been terrible. So it's time for a second go at it, I suppose. We'll see how those Avengers movies go. But as for this one, not for me. Moving on to 13, one that actually was for a lot of people, and that makes me very happy. Novocaine. Novocaine, I liked Jack Quaid. I did not like this movie. I saw it, that this was one of the movies I saw when my friends were in town. None of us liked it, not one. There were 5 of us. My fiance, Mary Caroline, slept through most of it. The other 2 dudes slept through most of it. And then one dude had actually already seen it because it was the Mystery Movie Monday a few weeks prior. And he stayed awake the whole time and liked it the most, but still didn't like it at all, and was very annoyed that it was the second half of our double feature alongside Looney Tunes The Day the Earth Blew Up. But that's just what it had to be, because we all had to see Novocaine for ourselves, and Novocaine was not very good. Forgive me, I don't know her name. His girlfriend, though, in the movie is where it all falls apart. She's not a character, and then her only character is plot device. And then it's twist, and the twist is bad, and like doesn't ruin the movie because it wasn't even good up until then, but it's like this is not anything interesting or anything we haven't seen before. The action isn't particularly interesting. It is R-rated. It's not anything interesting for an R-rated movie. Not as much as you would hope. All the cool, interesting stuff, like he gets a knife thrown in his hand and then stabs a foot, is in the trailer. That was played before every movie for the past couple months. So this was just a bad time at the movies. Like, I was bored to death watching it. Didn't think it was funny. Thought his girlfriend gave one of the worst performances of the year. Just a weird type of quirky that was very weird and very, very off-putting. But I'm glad that it had its audience with some people. I'd never want to watch this movie again, but it had elements that have worked, and good for it. Moving on to number 12. Unfortunately, I can't stand putting it this low because it's De Niro. I mean, who doesn't love De Niro? But I particularly have a soft spot for De Niro because he is my fiance's favorite actor. So we went and saw the Alto Knights, and she liked it more than me, for sure. But it's just undeniably not very good. It's not. That is to say, she also didn't like it. Is why I said it that way. Like, it was sad that there's just not much good you can say about this movie because there's not much that even happens in it in the way of like anything to grasp onto, other than De Niro plays two characters who are not related. He just plays two characters for no reason. The one character is certainly Joe Pesci. It's certainly written to be like Joe Pesci in all the Scorsese movies, and he plays it like Joe Pesci, which is fun to view it in that lens, you know, knowing their relationship. But then you almost just wonder why they didn't get Joe Pesci. But that also is to say that this isn't a script that would be very good if Martin Scorsese made it. You know, it'd be a better movie, but it's not even like something that is all that interesting in the first place. To the point that in the third act, you're almost confused as to, is this the third act? Is like you're waiting for it to almost get more complicated and switch, but it never does. And that's okay. So good for Barry Levinson, though, and De Niro for making this. And Warner Brothers gave him like $50 million for it to do it. And I think that's all the, you know, supporting auteurs before they sell the studio move. Something that was just made fun of in that Seth Rogen, the studio show on Apple TV. Not included on this list, but the first episode of that was great. Second episode, we couldn't get through, but the first episode was fantastic, and I look forward to getting back to it sometime, because the second episode just wasn't for us. But anyways, moving on. Number 11. This is certainly a step up from the bottom three. Those bottom three are movies I'd never, under any circumstance, want to watch again. Not to say that I would never watch a bad movie again, because these are certainly bad movies. These are the bad movies I wouldn't have a problem if you put on in front of me. If you put the bottom three on in front of me, I'd be very annoyed. It's the simplest way to put it. Those are movies I never want to watch again. These ones are still 2 out of 5 movies that I can point my head at. And coming in at 11 is Snow White, the movie that came out the weekend of Alto Knights, and shockingly was better. I never would have guessed that, but I enjoyed it more than Alto Knights significantly, because it is a visual disaster piece, if that makes sense. Like, there's just, you can't take your eyes off a movie like that, you know. Everybody knows what those dwarves look like. I didn't going in. I did not see that much advertising for this movie, truthfully. I don't know if it's because usually I go to the movies late, because it's an AMC and they play 22 minutes of ads, and I don't like seeing ads. I'm someone that walks out of a lot of trailers for horror movies, mainly whenever I know I'm going to see them, because I see everything in theaters because I have AMC A-list. That's why I've seen so many movies, and because I just want to be caught up to date on the current cinematic lexicon. You know, I want to be able in 20 some years to remember what it was like during my, you know, heyday of going to the movies, before I have kids or something. I know I won't be able to go as much. So that's always something I just like to preface, because also, why did I see Snow White? I didn't see a trailer for it. I just thought, this is going to be funny because I like Gal Gadot and I like Rachel Zegler and I like Mark Webb, who directed it, because I like Gifted and 500 Days of Summer. But it's a $200-some million, and I hate to always bring up the budget, but it's a $200-some million version of Snow White. What could that look like? Why would that need to be that? And it's hideous. It's it's hideous, and that's fun. It's like Polar Express type vibes, and seeing that high in a movie theater called the Big D, which is what we have here in Savannah, it was a delight. I saw Novocaine in the Big D, and I can't believe that I would say I like Snow White more, but I very easily would, just with 100% honesty, would say I like Snow White more. And that's crazy, but it was funny. The music, shockingly, wasn't that bad. I don't remember a single song, but I saw for the Mufasa the Lion King, and God bless Barry Jenkins, that sucked. And I can remember the Beretta song, but only because it's horrible, and I don't remember any other song. But I remember thinking, wow, this is aggressively bad. Snow White was just bad, so it gets a pass. Coming in at 10, we have Plankton. It is a Netflix original Plankton movie. I almost wish they didn't get the original voice actors, because it's jarring to hear their voices come out of CGI 3D models, but nevertheless, this was inoffensive. I was stoned one night. We put it on at midnight and had a good time with it. Moving on, number 9, because I have nothing else to say about Plankton, is In the Lost Lands, the new Paul W.S. Anderson movie, starring Dave Bautista and his wife, of course, Mila Jovovich. I thought this was fine. Yes, it had horrible CGI. Yes, the story was completely nonsensical, jumped all over the place, weirdly complex, and then really stupid, but really stupid in a charming way. Really stupid in a charming way whenever Bautista, spoiler alert, skip 10 seconds ahead if you're ever going to watch this movie, In the Lost Lands, Bautista becomes a werewolf, and I have a soft spot for werewolf movies. So I was just like, what the heck is going on? This is funny. It wasn't any good. I wouldn't watch this again, but if someone put it on in front of me, I'd be like, oh yeah, the silly ass Bautista PWSA movie? Hell yeah, let's go. So, number 9, In the Lost Lands. Coming in at 8, oh, this breaks my heart. Mickey 17. Mickey 17 was so bad, I was shocked. Just shocked. Shocked sitting in that theater. Ended up seeing it with a huge group. Opening night in the Big D. It was just me and MC going, and then we ran into Amelia from a movie set we were on the previous weekend. Realized she was there with a couple other people we knew from Savannah. Ended up sitting with them and had a great time. Prior to the movie, watching trailers, laughing at the fact that the annoying wicked guy is in the new Jurassic World movie, and I had no idea. And then Mickey 17 starts, and it's not funny, and it's actually really annoying. And then it keeps spinning its wheels for 40 minutes of a cold open that is just the most painfully unfunny, awkward cold opening ever. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, is this what we're doing? I hope this gets better. And it did for me. For the 2-hour and 17-minute runtime, it got worse. It got worse when Mark Ruffalo came, and Mark Ruffalo is not an actor I'm a fan of, as much as he did go to the Walnut Bottom Diner in Carlisle whenever I lived in Pennsylvania, very close to there, and that was a really funny thing. Olds talking about it on Facebook, funny thing. But Mark Ruffalo is an actor that doesn't do much for me. He's in great movies like Zodiac and Begin Again, but and Collateral, and he's not even bad in all of them. But like things like Poor Things and this, namely, are things where I'm just like, you're ruining this movie. You're killing this team, as Philip Seymour Hoffman would say in Moneyball. You're killing this team because he tanks it. He's going for it, but he's only going for it in the only way he knows how, and it is just unbelievably one-note cringe to me. Grinds my gears to no end, and it didn't work. Rob Pattinson doing his Steve-O voice, that was great. It was good. Like he's doing his best. Just not a movie that I was hoping for as a huge Bong Joon-ho fan. I mean, shout out my buddy Eli. He had a copy of Parasite shipped in for New Year's in 2019, like at the end of 2019 into 2020. Before it blew up, he had it shipped in from Korea, and Memories of Murder is one of my all-time favorites. The Host is a great creature feature. So I'm a massive Bong fan, and this just crushed me. That this was just not anywhere near even something like Snowpiercer. And the commentary in that, this was very tactless and not for me. But good for him for making it. Just not for me. It was a swing and a miss doing a riff on Starship Troopers. Moving on to number 7. I cannot believe that this is right above this, but it's the way it works out. This is exactly where it belongs. The Woman in the Yard. I can't believe it. The Woman in the Yard, because I thought this movie was very bad. And it's number 7. That's the month of March. There's 14 movies we're halfway through. I thought The Woman in the Yard is the newest Blumhouse PG-13 slop. And saw it the other night down in Florida. I was on a car camping trip to the MLB opening day to support the Pirates and losing to the Marlins. And it came out that Thursday night. And we saw it actually before the 2 other movies that came out this weekend that we'll get to later. And it was just funny because it was like, what am I doing? Like, walking into it, I was like, it's a new PG-13 Blumhouse movie. But I feel like seeing it. Like, because I like Imaginary and I like Night Swim. Those are 2 important things to clarify. Afraid AI was garbage, but I like those movies. Blumhouse is not the curse of death as far as I'm concerned, and I'm a horror fan. But as I said earlier, I like to see movies, every movie, to keep myself up to date with what's going on in the movie world. And the unfortunate, whether you think so or not, truth is that Blumhouse, I think, is the half gold standard for modern day horror. Gold standard is not necessarily the right word, but the most popular, certainly. Them and A24 for mainstream audiences are what they think of now when they think of horror in a lot of ways. Blumhouse has made great movies, and they do make great movies. They'll continue to. But there's no secret they do it on the cheap. They churn them out, and some of them just are not good. But this one was way more thought-provoking than typical ones of those. This one had some real deep, weird junk in it. And I think it could be because Jaume Collet-Serra directed it, who is a director I'm actually a big fan of because he made Orphan, which is actually one of the best horror movies of the 2000s, or at least one of the best twists, and a lot of solid Liam Neeson thrillers. And he directed this one. He is on a cold streak, in my opinion, because he did Jungle Cruise and Black Adam. I'm not a fan of either of those movies, Black Adam being significantly worse. And he did the Carry On movie with Taron Egerton last year. Wasn't a fan of that. And even The Commuter, his last movie with Neeson, that was in 2017. So that's the last movie I think that he did that was good. That was 8 years ago. But I still give him my faith. And Danielle Deadwyler's great. If you haven't seen The Piano Lesson on Netflix, add it to your list. It's a really good movie, and she's fantastic in it. But this movie is just so, I think, insulting, kind of, because it is PG-13 Blumhouse slop for 70% of the runtime. And then and this is going to be skip ahead 30 seconds. And I watch the number, so I keep track. 20 minutes and 30 seconds in. They make this a metaphor for trauma, and not just trauma. They end up making The Woman in the Yard, which is a stupid concept for your silly horror movie, a metaphor for suicide. And I thought that was bizarre, just completely baffling that it didn't earn it in any way. It is a silly horror movie all the way up to that point, with way too many serious things in it, albeit. But it's like, all right, no more spoilers. I won't say what it is anymore. But it is like bizarre to me because up until that point, you're just watching like a horrible teen son actor, which, you know, no shame to him, but like, it's just not earning any dramatic beats or like the right to even go for them, and then it does. And I thought that it was so weird and shocking and like stepping over the line. And if you're gonna do that, good for you. Some of the best horror movies do, but you have to have the tact, you have to have the precision to do it in a way that works, in a way that is tasteful. But even then, like, it can be horrific. You know, that's what a horror movie is. But this isn't scary. It's like this is made for teenagers because it's not actually scary, but it's also way too serious and deals with way too many heavy topics that no teenager, I would imagine, would actually enjoy this. So I just found this to be a very strange movie. But I did not think I'd have nearly this much to say about it going into it. So that being said, good for Blumhouse, and definitely better than some of their worst. So, Woman in the Yard, number 7. Coming in at 6, Opus. Moving over to the A24 side of horror, this movie only suffers from the fact that it's something we've seen before. It's not a bad version of it. It's a very bad script, but it visually was very good. I am someone, you'll just learn, everybody is different. You know, but if you want objectivity, read a textbook, you know, or subjectivity. If you want objectivity, listen to me. What am I saying? I'm subjective. Read a textbook if you want objectivity. Yeah. So I'm just being 100% honest. I watch movies and I share what I think about them. I'm not trying to hit it from this critical standpoint, is all I'm saying. So from number 6 on up, these are all movies that I would say are solid, 3 stars and above. This is a 3 out of 5 because I like Io Edeberry. I mean, she's one of my, you put her in a movie, she's one of my favorite actresses working today. Because I love Bottoms, and The Bear is fantastic. So she's why I was there for sure. Malkovich is great in it. I really like Juliette Lewis too. So it has a good cast. The opening is really cool. The rest of it has solid visuals. The script is just really where it completely does lack any precision. And it is just pretty much something we've seen before. But it has an idea about being a journalist. And I'm going to school right now for journalism. It has an idea about being a journalist and how do you want to be successful for writing about other people's accomplishments? Or do you actually have something to say and put in the world? And I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was an interesting thought. Not that it fully explores it, but in the end, it did tie in enough that it worked. The end was strange, but then it ended up tying it together, if that makes sense. Not a great movie, but certainly not terrible. Opus, number 6. Number 5, Black Bag. Steven Soderbergh's second movie in the first 3 months of the year. Imagine coming out with Presents in January, which is a banger. If you haven't seen Presents, it's my favorite horror movie of the year so far. It's technically not a 2025 release because it came out at festivals last year, but if it was, it'd be my favorite movie of the year so far. Presents is absolutely top tier. And then this, which is just a very solid 90-minute spy thriller. What Fassbender and Cate Blanchett remind me of in this movie are like the James Bond spy version of Ed and Lorraine Warren from the Conjuring universe, if that makes any sense. This wasn't even necessarily what I thought it was going to be based off the trailer, but it, for what it is a very nice, slow-paced, slow burn, but efficient spy thriller, and I really enjoyed it. The performances are great. I can't think of her name, but the one girl who's like, whenever you don't tell the truth about anything, whenever you lie about everything, how can you tell the truth about anything? She's great. She's fantastic. She steals every scene she's in amongst, industry legends. So good for her. I look forward to seeing her in more things, because she certainly will be. Coming in at number 4, Death of a Unicorn. Now, this is where things get interesting, because, and I'm excited to talk about Death of a Unicorn. I hope I don't talk for too long, and I appreciate it if you still watch this long. Death of a Unicorn is what you would get from an A24 creature feature, and I think that is super cool, and for that idea alone, it was going to be this high, because it was just way more interesting than redundant stuff or bad stuff that came before it. It's not a movie I'd call good, I guess is what all that is to say. But I would watch it before I'd rewatch Black Bag and Opus. But Black Bag was certainly better. And like for what it was going for, definitely knocked it out of the park. But for me, it's just a double, or it's even just a single. Whereas Death of a Unicorn may have swung real hard and missed the ball the first 2 times, but then it somehow got a ground rule double just by default for being an A24 creature feature by Paul Rudd, or with Paul Rudd. Not by Paul Rudd, it's by a first-time director, and forgive me, I do not remember his name. I think it looks like Akiva Schaffer or something, but that's the Lonely Island guy. It's not a well-written movie. I cannot believe A24 greenlit this, but they said a few years back they were going to move into blockbusters, and I think that this current era of A24 is so emblematic of that, but also so interesting, because movies like Civil War and this are movies that aren't even necessarily that good, but it's like, these are way more interesting, that these are at least getting made with these actors and getting wide releases, and that makes me happy. It is, as much as they're not for everybody, it is interesting for the current cinematic landscape, and they're doing different things. So I appreciate it. I know a lot of people have hated this movie, and some people have really enjoyed it. I would give it a 3 out of 5. I did. I'm on Letterboxd. My name is AlexFett22 or Magnolia Fan, if you find me on the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back review. But it's like not even good in any way. Like, Paul Rudd's character is horribly written. What ends up happening with him is horrible. Like doesn't pay off in a good way. The Eat the Rich commentary is as subtle as Don't Look Up, but it has unicorn gore, and for it to have unicorn gore is brave, and I appreciate that out of a movie. So that's why I enjoyed it. I enjoy Paul Rudd. I enjoy Jenna Ortega. I enjoy Tay Leone. I enjoy Richard E. Grant. I enjoy Will Poulter. I like the cast of this movie. I had a good time with it. Way too much CGI, but a silly movie like this is going to have that type of CGI. And if I can enjoy bad CGI croc movies, I can enjoy bad CGI unicorn creature features. Number 4, Death of a Unicorn. Number 3, a movie I saw on a whim one night after work, just because I saw it was playing on the Big D and had a live Q&A with Aaron Paul and Isa Gonzalez, and it had just premiered at South by Southwest, and I heard very mixed and bad things about it, but I just wanted to check it out because I just heard about it, and that's Ash, and I liked Ash. I thought Ash was interesting, and a cool sci-fi movie, even if also being a little bit too derivative of Event Horizon, particularly, is what stood out to me, but also at a certain point becoming very John Carpenter's The Thing. Visually, though, Flying Lotus just directed the heck out of this thing. I thought that it was a visual delight, and if you want a cool, trippy sci-fi horror movie, Ash will do you good. Number 2, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. I'm so thankful for Ketchup Entertainment for saving this movie and Coyote vs. Acme, which they just acquired. I wish more people saw it. I tried to get so many people to see it, and everyone I asked, "You gonna go see the new Looney Tunes movie?" said, "There's a new Looney Tunes movie coming out." So it was up to me to market this movie because it wasn't gonna do it itself. And unfortunately, not enough people saw it. But it was good. I had a good time with it. I thought it definitely was strange for a Looney Tunes movie because it only features Daffy Duck and Porky Pig. I don't know if that's a spoiler per se because it's a fact about the movie, but I honestly think it's important to know that going in because it's weird and off-putting almost that no other Looney Tunes are in it. Petunia Pig does show up as well, but it ended up being okay. It was a Daffy and Porky movie and that worked. I just don't know why you would want every other character to be a human. This had a very weird look to it. You could tell it was very cheap, but in a way that wasn't necessarily off-putting. It just was a fact. And I had a good time. I mean, Daffy Duck's ass cheeks were out in it, so it was funny, and we were all laughing and having a good time. And had the theater all to ourselves to be doing so. So I'm a huge Looney Tunes fan. Didn't necessarily satisfy what I would look for from a Looney Tunes movie, but it certainly was a very fun Looney Tunes movie for what it was, and like an extended episode of the Looney Tunes show from 2010. So I can't complain. I had a good time, and I'm just thankful I was able to see it. And coming in at number 1, A Working Man. I'm so glad that this is the best movie of the first month I'm doing this, at least for the reboot of my channel, because I love Jason Statham action movies. That's a very good way to immerse you with my taste. If you've never watched me before or know who I am, or even if you do, yeah, of course, above all these movies, the Jason Statham killing human trafficker movie. Wow, those words are gonna get this video probably taken down. Was my favorite movie of the month. It did what it said on the tin. It was a construction worker action movie. The beekeeper didn't use bees enough. Every single person you talk to who says, "Yeah, I saw the beekeeper, there wasn't enough bees in it. Why didn't he kill people with bees?" No one's gonna say that about this movie. They're not gonna say, "Yeah, man, he was Jason Statham, but he wasn't a construction worker." Nah, he was. And even whenever he was like doing business, getting intel on the side, he was like, "Yeah, man, I need these drugs for my boys on the construction site," you know? It was so funny. It was the type of campy, tongue-in-cheek B-movie action movie that I hope for. Jason Statham is so good in these David Ayer movies. They know how to frame him in such a way that he's like slasher monster Statham almost. Not as much as the beekeeper. The beekeeper is the most physically imposing he's ever been captured on screen, the biggest he's ever looked. But this one, he certainly looks great. And he was kicking ass. So I had a great time at the movies and really enjoyed A Working Man. Saw that on the Big D as well. After a 9-hour drive back from Miami. That's the last movie I saw on this list. And it was a 9 p.m. showing, and it was a delight. So, that being said, my number 1 is A Working Man. Tell me what your number 1 is. Tell me everything you have to say on my list, your list, anything in the comments, and I appreciate it if you made it this far. And I hope to keep it on and seeing how this progresses. Thank you. Have a great day.